Now we are closing, and thank you very much for your contribution and your participation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite our panelists back to the stage because we have the Q&A session, but we're very out of our time, therefore we have to keep it really short and we have to limit our questions and discussions because we're still in from our lunch break. And after the Q&A session, just next door we will have lunch boxes. They're completely organic and it's thanks to women labor. They're produced by hand, prepared by hand. Well, thank you very much to those ladies who prepared those sandwiches for us. Now let's start the Q&A session. I'm sure you have lots of questions, but please try to keep your questions really short and clear because we have time problem. I would like to start to ask a question to Ahmet. In very crowded countries and heterogeneous countries like Turkey, growth may lead to further injustice between poor and the rich. What do you say? Well, let me talk about the study then. Together with the AKP ruling party, we started to talk about the issues of growth and injustice, and one of my colleagues made a study about household income. Only in 2007 the economy is growing really fast and people's incomes are increasing really fast, and he looked at welfare justice. Only in 2007 there was a relative improve, and the reason is not of course the social politics followed by AKP. It was because of the lowering of inflation and interest, and of course with the low interest rates the income of the richest people went down, and when their income went down actually it appeared that the gap between income shrank. No, it was not the case of course. The gap never shrank because the system is growth oriented, and even if the income level of people grow, this will not lead to elimination of the injustice. Simon Kuznets explains this. The world in 1950s is not the same as the world now. After the Second World War, a new world was created in 1950s, and international organizations were established, and they were building societies of welfare. And of course, the middle class was quite big. It was the golden age of capitalism. But then came the years 2000, and in order for the countries to have economic growth, they had to do remarkable things to the detriment of the social justice, and they kept a blind eye on many important things like security in mines, or in order to attract more economy into your country you have to build on wetlands, or you have to build that third airport to your last forest. And I also made a study, and I understood that the government had to change a lot of laws and regulations just to continue with their mega projects. But I think we have to change this mentality first. Otherwise, we will not be able to find a sustainable solution for our economic and societal problems. There is another question. Could you introduce yourself, please? Is the microphone on? Yeah? I cannot hear the question. The microphone is not on. Okay, I'll stand here in order not to lose more time. My name is Mehmet Boynerik. I'm from the Greens and Left Future Party. After the speech of Klaus Basch, I'm a bit confused actually. I think some things need to be further clarified. I don't want to speak behind his back. No, I will tell what you said. No, I just want you to answer this question actually. That's why I postponed my question. I didn't want to ask it to Mr. Spash directly. Now, Spash compared green economy and green growth, and I think he said that these two terms are equal to each other. But this is the sixth of the green economy conferences, and for 6 years we're trying to define that another green economy is possible. We're questioning whether a different economic model or green economy model is possible outside of green growth.
Konsepti olarak söylüyoruz. Burada bir açıklığa kavuşturmamız gereken bir durum var galiba.
I think we have to clarify one thing. Ahmet has been explaining us what green economy is, and Federico introduced the concept of degrowth, and he gave us a list of proposals, and I think the list of proposals have the same idea as the concept drawn by Ahmet. And for 6 years we've been trying to draw the framework for green economy in a different context. But I cannot see any common denominators with our concept and those introduced by Spash, and maybe then Federico and Etemcan would like to contribute as well. Federico, please.
Do you want to maybe to speed up the process? Do you want to let's take 4 or 5? My proposal is we take 4 or 5 questions and then we make.
İsterseniz 4-5 soru alalım, sonra biz son yorum yapalım. Yoksa çok uzun sürecek.
Salondan soruları toparlayalım. Mahmut Bey'le başladık.
Federico suggests let's get 4 or 5 questions and then give the comments. Okay, any other questions? Hi. I will not introduce myself to save time. Now, here's my question. Growth-focused model. We are coming up with a degrowth model as a proactive solution to growth-related issues. But if we fail, then this will explode. And then we will come up with a reactive solution in order to seize the day, or to save the day, actually. So, what do you think? When will we reach that point of explosion of growth? When will it come to an end? Hi, my name is Tuba. Now I have a question about unfair income distribution. Ahmet spoke about this. What can be done? How can we make it more sustainable? We call it degrowth. Mohammed Yunus, if I'm not mistaken, in India is offering microcredit, microloans to the lower income people. So if Turkey wants to degrow, then at least a small group will do this. So do you have a plan? What do you suggest? Thank you. Any other questions? I don't have to ask my question, but we can make positive discrimination. We don't have so many women asking questions. Okay, Bengi and the last other two questions, and then we'll close. In what language shall I ask my question? Okay, I'll ask it in Turkish. Now, what is degrowth? We don't have a blueprint, and everything will be contextual, right? But still, it's open for discussion in terms of how it will be practiced, etc. Actually, this is a question more for Ethem and to all of you if you want. How can we ensure that this degrowth process is not an unfair, a hegemonic, a patriarchal, etc. process? So, that'd be great if we heard some things on that. Great. So we'll get 2 more questions and then finalize. Thank you to all the panelists. Now I'm writing my PhD on development on ecological economics. So I was really interested in your speeches. I mean, this can be a yes or no answer, by the way. My name is Arman Canan. Now, here's my question. National economies is what we have, and the GDP is very much about that, right? So I was wondering if degrowth is more making a reference to more local economies. So do we get to then question class relationships, or how important are the class relationships? And one final comment.
Affedersiniz, Yeşiller mi? Sol gelecek.
You're from the Greens and from the leftist future, right? Okay. Now, I think your question was particularly important because it's a breaking point. Now, on the computer it says "for climate," that motto. I mean, our friends from the anti-nuclear movement as a breakup group started working on the anti-nuclear issues, and there's a Paris situation, and we have a guest from Austria who said very clearly that this is just a trick. The green economy, the climate treaty or agreement is just all fake, he said. So if this continues like that, then the Greens party should also question itself. So it's good that this is going like that. The Greens and the left future will have to question itself, otherwise the icebergs will also come our way. By the way, my name is Timur Danış, but just because I'm Can asked, I'm one of the writers at the Ağaç Kakan newspaper, the Woodpecker newspaper, or the journal. Now, so Akın was a researcher who made a survey, but Savaş Emek is a better researcher to look at, I think. This is what I'm saying to Ethem Can. Well, we don't have much time. Now, why the elephant? Why did you do all that to the elephant? Why didn't you use an excavator instead of an elephant? I mean, that's what we do on our Green Road project in the Black Sea region. We got it from the French friends. Excavator versus a bear. And it fits better. Actually, a cow fits much better to our movement, because cow gives you milk, and we drink their milk and resist with the milk that gives us energy. Well, thank you. And sorry, one very important thing. Again for you, Ethem Can. 60 thermal power plants are being planned in Turkey, right? Or 70? 70 thermal power plants plus 3 nuclear power plants. But Turkey is not planning these things. Some other people are planning these things for Turkey. We should put it in the passive sentence structure. Germans are planning this. In Afshin Elbistan, the coal thermal power plant is still continuing, 4 more units to come. And let's focus on Germany. Because Germany, because of Paris, even Angela Merkel became a climate angel all of a sudden. Although Germany itself is still using coal or extracting coal. That is a new breaking point. Let's start about these things. Thank you. Ahmet, let's start with you, and then Federico and Ethem Can, and let's answer the questions, okay? Do I start? Okay. Okay. Now, I said so much anyway and exceeded my time, and I asked so many questions, so I don't want to take up more time. But Timur Danish, I know you. When I was a student, he was one of the most important faces, and he still is, of the environmental struggle in Turkey. He is a symbolic name. Many young people will not know him, but he's a really big name for all the things that he has done. He won't know me, but I know him. Well, you buy from me at the ecologic market. Oh, yes, okay, that's right. But since we have this green economy animosity between us, I do not want to say hi to you. I'm not sure if I should say hi or not, but I know you. But I know you. You marched from Wien to Moscow, right? Yes, from Wien to Moscow I marched. You're doing this green road, green path project. So 2 years from now, what sort of a struggle will you be doing? You're doing this, but in a Turkey that we are at right now, environmental degradation is at its peak. And that's what I asked to Clive, actually. And actually did not literally translate my question. Degrowth movements, cooperatives, etc. are all fine. But if you cannot reach the critical mass, if you cannot change the system, then it gets worse. Yes, we're happy with our cooperative. I'm part of a food movement. I go shop from you. I eat my pancake from that woman, blah blah. But how many people go there? Istanbul has 16 million inhabitants. We are not sufficient to change the system. And then in 2100 it should stay at 2 degrees. Otherwise, if we cannot change the system until 2050, then you can forget the rest. You can forget about the earth. That's why it's so important. Degrowth, etc. It's all emptied on the inside. So I agree with you. It's like capitalist system goes through a crisis, and the best that they can come up with to come out of the crisis is this. But we have to a little bit rewind to manufacture this pen. Right now a car is being manufactured in 150 different countries. In the 1950s it was manufactured in a single country. Global supply chain has become so intertwined. The world has become such a huge place. If we cannot make these global supply chains more sustainable, can we make this happen or not? I am not sure. So degrowth is good. It sounds well as an idea. And I know that the future should be about degrowth, yes, but I don't know how I should get there. That is my question. Well, you can discuss later on between you. Is that okay? Because there are other questions. Now, Federico. What do you want to say about the questions, please, Federico?
Very often I don't say anything, in fact, and it is interpreted as an excuse for not replying, no? But in the end, the attempt of Degrowth is to open up a debate. So this is the questions I have in mind, this is the question you are in mind, so we are all worried about this. I can report from our experience, but I have no replies. I want to go back to this issue of the green economy. The way Clive presenting the green economy is not the way we understand the green economy. And I can make 2 points on that. The first point is it is the same with development alone or with sustainable development. So many people ask me, why did you not stay with sustainable development? Why do you criticize development per se? Because people, even influential people like the ecological economist Herman Daly, who is behind the steady state and so on, he has a whole book explaining how we can redefine development and turn it from a quantitative measure, so development as growth, to qualitative measure, development as something positive and so on. This for me is a failure, because the real question is who has the power to define these words? Who has the power to define the word development, the word sustainable development, and the word green economy? And I think Herman Daly doesn't have the power. So the common understanding of the word development is still that development equals economic growth. So for me, it depends, this is the first point, and then it depends upon the context. So for me, in the international arena, in academia, when I read green economy, I understand, okay, again, sustainable development, green economy, green growth, same old story. Then, whether you here construct internally to the party or your association a definition of green economy, that's fair enough. And you are totally free to use it also in the Turkish context and in the context you are, I guess, also the political arena. And that's totally fine with me. But I don't think, at least internationally, you don't have, I think, the power to redefine what green economy means. Then, does this mean, and third point, does this mean that I'm obsessed and I only want to use degrowth ever and everywhere and in all situations? No, I mean, let's be serious about that. If Podemos, this new left party in Spain, would at least talk about, I don't know, green economy, I would be happy enough. And then after we can talk about degrowth. That's fine. So it depends upon the context too.
Ben de kısa
Well, I will also make brief remarks. Well, Federico said more or less what I wanted to say. I mean, some people dominate the language. And there's the dominant ideology over green economy. And it's not the thing that you mean in the last 6 years here. They might mean it well, but at the international scale, green economy shows a certain direction. So, if we're going to discuss the concepts, then green economy makes this struggle weaker. There are different approaches. Some are mainstream, others are not. Robin Hahnel has the participatory economy understanding. It's great, it sounds great, but it never became mainstream. But when you say participatory economy, it's just like economy as usual, add some participation, and there you go. You have the participatory economy sort of understanding, unfortunately. So the breaking point or the explosion point that you were asking about, actually Federico talked about this before. In terms of how the global economy goes, you will explode. You're doomed to explode when you hit the biophysical limits. Did you see the film Gegen die Wand, Against the Wall? Well, this is what happens in the film. It's about a car and how fast you are when you crash into a wall. Degrowth, or other approaches like Federico also mentioned, the global climate justice movement is part of it. If we're seeing history as a car or as a train, let's go back to Walter Benjamin. Then the revolutions are the handbrakes of the car. So one of the linings of that handbrake is degrowth. So let us pull the handbrake before we hit that point of explosion. The other issue about Muhammad Yunus from India, about microloans, it's a classical success story presented by the neoliberals, and Muhammad Yunus received so many awards like Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, etc. Well, this strips the poor of all the system-related issues. And microloans have also been brought to Turkey by the Turkish Chamber of Commerce, and it has really abused the women's domestic labor or women's labor, and people could not pay it back. So I think microloans are not liberating in any sense. But at the micro scale, micro scale, some steps could change things, but I think those steps are not microloans. So they are presented as success stories, but they're not necessarily always success stories. And then the principles of course change from one place to another, but it's a matter of democracy, it's a matter of gender, etc. So they're part of the context, and these should be actually implemented no matter what. They should be universal principles. Maybe Degrowth, I'm not sure if Degrowth is interested in this, but Degrowth movement could possibly come up with a checklist of some sort. Well, Federico's list, I mean, maybe since Seattle, maybe Degrowth is not the movement that we're after. You know, that's what we're looking at. Climate justice movement also sees themselves as part of the movement, but I think that movement, which is the ultimate, I think Federico said it well. I mean, you can be a feminist, you can be for degrowth economically, or you can be for locality, etc. But in this wave of migration, if you're saying, oh, I'm sorry, but no Syrians, please, then that's a cross. I mean, you're not fitting with that epilogue of principles. And two more things. One is about what Timur Danish has said. Well, like Ahmet, I know him from Git journal, from the Git, the Go magazine, and I know that he's part of the Woodpecker magazine too. Savaş Emek also has made this movement stronger, but here's what I think. You talked about the emphasis being wrong. I think there is a two-sided situation. I mean, not only foreigners take decisions about Turkey. Insiders, inside forces, like internal Irish people, as the famous football trainer would say it, they also take their decisions. He's referring to an event that happened with an Irish person. Well, you might have heard what has happened in Çatalaz. It's a small valley, and they're building 7 thermal power plants right side by side that the children cannot breathe properly even. And they bring coal from Colombia, these thermal power plants, and they are the local companies who have done this. They get local credit from local banks. Of course they have international connections, because in such big issues you have a chain reaction. International banks come into play, reinsurance companies come into play, etc. But I don't think this is something imposed on Turkey from other countries. No, it also comes from Turkey. The dominant circles from Turkey also have a share, and they have their interests. Be it energy, mining, green road, all of these turn back to their pockets as in the form of an oil pipe. Okay, and the other issue is about what Ahmet said. Then I'll close. Ahmet said degrowth is where we will end at in the future. Nicholas Georgescu Robin, who's the founder of ecological economics, he has a book on entropy, law on entropy. When this was translated into French, it was translated into domaine de croissance, which means like future or tomorrow's degrowth. And I think compared to 1979, we're already at the tomorrow, and we're already past tomorrow. So we should rather have a look at today than focus on the future.
Bütün konuşmacılarımıza sizlere
thank you so much to all the panelists and to all the contributors.